What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new to the channel too and want to hit the subscribe button, that would help me out immensely. Honestly, not the video that I want to be making right now, but I want to be as transparent as I possibly can throughout the whole process of the Skyline build. But let's go ahead first and jump into some updates. As of last week, I got the Skyline back from Albert. As you all are aware, we dropped it off for him to do the first start. It sounded absolutely phenomenal. He got all the parameters dialed in, all ready for the tune we were supposed to have next week. Also went ahead and did some cable management in the bay, put some interior pieces back in, and we did get a brand new Haltech can gauge, which is my absolute favorite. This thing is super sweet. I spent a good hour getting everything dialed in. So I got, so far, fuel pressure, ethanol sensor, we got throttle position sensor. Love that. Got our NOx sensors 1 and 2. I got coolant temp, AFR, oil pressure, and battery. Went ahead and did some cable management in the bay. Sorry about the lighting, but I got the under the intake all nice and dialed in. Albert did go ahead and install our coolant reservoir. Motor currently holds operating temperature, which is great. Got some lines heat sleeved, and now let's talk about this very unfortunate situation. So we really do not know what happened in this situation. The car was running phenomenal. The first week Albert got it, and then the day I went to go pick it up, he gave me a call and he said that he thinks our turbo is donezo. It started smoking. He compression tested the motor. It read 130 PSI, no leaks, no abnormal noises from a built motor, and everything was smooth. I'll show you a picture of what we found though in the wastegate. So we found this little piece of slag. We do not know where it came from, but somehow it made its way in to the turbo and grenaded it. He sent me more pictures that I'll post now, and essentially I need to fully rebuild my Garrett G30 770, which is very, very unfortunate. But as of right now, Albert gave me the task to take off the turbo manifold, inspect the ports, inspect the manifold, and we're also going to put a borescope down each of these cylinder walls to make sure this little piece of slag or whatever didn't harm anything in the bay or anything in the block. But like I mentioned, even when I picked it up and I drove it the short distance, it ran great, it sounded healthy, no metallic noises, and that little piece of slag also was not metallic. So we don't know if that came from fabrication or from the manifold or even from somewhere on the turbo, but it really puts a thorn in our plans. We had the dyno scheduled for next week. Unfortunately, we have to cancel that now and solidify our game plan moving forward with, is my motor okay, or is it just my turbo? I am very fortunate for the Arctic manifold. All the bolts are very easily accessible, and then pulling out the spark plugs isn't too big of a deal. I will have to remove my downpipe to fully maneuver the manifold out, and since the manifold is out, I am going to go ahead and install my Arctic heat blanket for it as well. All right, just got the Arctic manifold off. Inspecting all the ports on the manifold, everything honestly looks good. This is just from the metal gasket, but everything looks good, like nothing abnormal. Stuck my finger up in there and nothing was wiggling. Currently charging my borescope so we can see more in depth, but like everything looks good in the manifold, like honestly. Shine the light down there, nothing looked broken. And then I know you can't see too well, but I just got done inspecting the exhaust ports on the head, and even these all look good. Like nothing abnormal, looks like nothing like went through them. So I'm not too sure, but once the borescope is fully charged, we'll go ahead and stick it in the exhaust ports, I just got the spark plugs out as well. We'll inspect the cylinder walls and the rest of the Arctic manifold. All right, I know you guys can't see too much, but we just double checked all these cylinder walls 1 through 6 and then cranked it over ever so slightly to inspect the other cylinder walls, and honestly everything looks normal. Like nothing looks out of place. All the walls are good. Spark plugs were like super clean. No abnormal wear on the brand new, not even a mile pistons. Like guys, I'm at a loss for words. I really don't know. Motor, like I mentioned, sounds like super healthy. Even when I started it, when we picked it up, like I am not so sure. So I'm just thinking that something got stuck in the turbo from fabrication on the turbo, because like I mentioned, nothing from the top can seep into the intake tracks, and if not, or if it did, then we would definitely notice it. I inspected all of the valve stems and seals and they were all closed with no obstructions in them. So I'm gonna talk with Albert real quick and see what he wants to do and see what he wants to pursue, but we definitely need to get our Garrett turbo rebuilt, and then I'll just have him triple check our work again. All right, just got done reinstalling the Arctic turbo manifold. Got all the nuts torqued to spec, went ahead and installed the Arctic heat management blanket for the manifold. Fits good, looks good, everything is nice and tight, nice and snug, tied up. So now with thermodynamics, keeping all the heat inside the exhaust will help the gases exit much faster and more efficient. Now I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the downpipe and then wait on what Albert and I are going to do for the next step. All right, just got off the phone with Albert. So unfortunately, my turbo is not rebuildable. So we went ahead and ordered a new Chara. I think that's how you pronounce it, spelled C-H-R-A or Chara. It was another $1,500. Not the money I want to spend, honestly. Of course, we're already so deep into this project, but I'd rather spend $1,500 than build another $40,000 motor. So the game plan is now we have that new G30 770 reverse rotation Chara ordered. Should be in here a couple of days. Hoping I can get the Skyline trailered back up to Phoenix so Albert can reassemble the turbo, slap it back on, reprime it, and make sure it starts and runs healthy. Of course, beforehand, I'm gonna have him recheck the cylinder walls with the bore scope and make sure I have his okay. Like I mentioned in the last clip, my brother and I went through 3 times on these cylinder walls and everything looked normal with no abnormal scoring or any pits on the pistons. And again, everything is literally brand new. So if anything was scored in a weird way, we would know. I'm hoping I can still make the dyno next week. We are about 7 days away from the time I am filming this. And I'm just crossing my fingers. I want to get done with this project. We are so close to the finish line and I'm literally starting to stress now. It's not the end of the world if we miss a dyno next week because I can just reschedule it for another week or 2 out, but my main concern is just making sure our build RB25 Neo is healthy. All right, everybody, it is the next 3 or 4 days, I believe. Last night I made a very late night Phoenix trip. We got our brand new rotating assembly from Garrett, from Albert. I just got off of a 12-hour shift, so please forgive me for my stuttering, but I got everything reinstalled. Everything is good. This wheel feels amazing. And Albert actually had a friend whose turbo just went. It was a Precision 6266 and he was just idling and it just exploded. So again, not too sure what happened to the turbo. Maybe it was unbalanced from factory, but we got a new one and that's all that matters. So now at this point, all I need to do is loosen up the downpipe from the bottom of the Skyline and essentially just reconnect everything. I know the tolerance on all of these pipes and V-band clamps are very tight, so I'm gonna do my absolute best and take my time because this may be a little bit tricky. All right, just got the turbo back on and the downpipe and everything else in between. was honestly a pain, but definitely going to be well worth it. At this moment in time, I'm gonna go ahead and prime our turbo, just making sure we get oil through the new line, which I'm pretty confident we will be. Got the fuel pump relay uninstalled and as well as the coil packs. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give this thing a good 3 to 5 second crank about 2 times, or at least until I see oil coming out of the feed line. Plug everything back in and initiate the first start. All right, we have oil going through the feed line. Now let's reconnect everything and initiate the first start for us. I'm so incredibly stoked, guys. A little nervous, but again, incredibly stoked on all the work. But before I do the start, let me inspect for any leaks. So good. Turbo sounds good. No crazy noises in the head, but the injectors are super loud. Maintaining solid fuel pressure. AFRs are good. Coolant temp is good. 128 degrees Fahrenheit. Oil pressure at 5.3 bar, which is quite nice. Battery's good. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back, and I am so incredibly relieved. I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm happy. We got the Skyline running with 0 issues. I'm just at a loss for words right now, guys, honestly, but just want to say thank you all for the continued love and support on this channel and of course on the Skyline build. So essentially what I did, got it started, let it run for a good 10-15 minutes, shut it off, inspected for leaks, noticed that my downpipe was leaking. I forgot to tighten down one of the V-bank clamps, torqued that thing to spec, let it run for another 10-15 minutes. Sounds super healthy, sounds exactly as it should. The injectors are so damn loud, I can't almost hear the lope from the head over the 1050 injector dynamic injectors. But the Kelford 264, 272 cams sound incredibly aggressive, and I'm curious to know if that's going to hurt my drivability. Again, this is not my daily driver. This is now essentially the race car, and I do plan on taking the Skyline to a couple track events or start tracking this car, aka drifting it, since we have all the suspension components. But just at a complete loss of words, guys. No leaks, which is amazing. All fluids operate at their temperatures, no overheating. All fluids hold their appropriate pressure, which is good as well. Still inspecting everything, and honestly, everything looks good. As of this time right now, I'm gonna relax, clean the garage, put the kit back on, and then tomorrow, when I'm off of work, I'm going to test out the clutch engagement. See, I know it's gonna move back and forth, but of course, just need to find that sweet spot. And then in about 2 or 3 weeks, when I have time, we will be taking the Skyline to the dyno. And then also December 12th, if everything works out, myself and the Skyline and Albert and his friends and their builds will be at Fuel Fest, I believe is December 12th. So cross my fingers, everything works out for that event. Going to trailer the Skyline, of course, and just essentially let it be a show car to showcase Albert's and Mai's work. But guys, again, so incredibly stoked. Skyline is back on the ground and kitted, looking absolutely amazing once again. And of course, I cannot emphasize this enough. Skyline is running as it should. The key point here is the Skyline is running, and we did such an amazing job over the last 2 3/4 of a year, again, building this thing. It's been quite the journey. I could ramble on forever, but we have work very soon. So like I mentioned in the last clips, next is dyno session. I do want to finalize a few more things here. Thinking about rebuilding another coolant line, and then definitely need to rebuild the power steering pump. I have the rebuild kit in my room. And then we need to play around more with the clutch master reservoir. I need my bite to be between mid to low pickup. But other than that, Skyline is near completed. And on that note, everybody, that is all I have for you in this video before I ramble on how grateful I am for your guys' support and how much I loved and miss driving the Skyline. Haven't driven it yet long distance, but I believe tomorrow or Thanksgiving Day, which is the next day, I will be driving the Skyline, getting a feel for things and making sure everything operates as it should. I cannot go into boost, of course, and I can't, clutch kick the Skyline or drive it too aggressive, but Alper did say I can put it around the neighborhood and essentially just work out all the bugs. So I'm incredibly stoked on that. The first thing I am, though, going to do is wash the car. It's been quite a long time since I've given the Skyline a good wash, and maybe I'll paint correct it again. It's got some scratches from constant movement, but it is what it is. So again, everybody, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for all the continued love and support. And if you're new to the channel too and want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be awesome. And remember, aim high, drive low. We'll catch you next video. Take care.